I've managed to do it, being 54 years old now, and I've had my ups and I've had my downs, and I'm going to talk a little bit about that, and that's just part of life. Please subscribe, please subscribe. And it's really important that to realise, especially for the Gen Z ages, is that you've got to push yourself. Now, I've spoken to an artist, I've spoken to a designer, all up and coming, all very young, and they all seem to lack drive and the want to really push themselves beyond what they think they can do. Does that make sense? So I started off being a pot wash boy, become a qualified chef, then found out I didn't like that job. Then I become a security man, doorman, thug. And then from being doorman, thug to security, I went into being a PT, and I've been doing that ever since. And the reason why I stuck to the PT work is that it's so enjoyable. Seeing somebody go from being overweight, in pain, to being no pain, being in great shape and doing some great things in the gym. And what I realised very early on in my teenage years, I had nobody mentoring me. I had nobody supporting me. I had to do it all on my own. I'd say to friends, you know, do you think I should become a doorman? Well, Scott, you're a big lump. You like having a fight, whether it's in the dojo or whether it's on the street. So I think you'll be able to handle it. And it took about 6 months before I got my first whack. But then after that, I knew that I really liked it. And a lot of the guys that I worked with were really special guys. You know, they all had either they was a good fighter, or they was a good talker, or they was a no-nonsense person. But we all had different personalities and all doing it for different reasons. But now, as far as I know, every single one that I worked with, nearly, I think, have all left. None of them are doing security work anymore. Because, one, it was getting more and more dangerous as the years went on, but the money was going down lower and lower. And this is what's happening a little bit to personal training. Most personal trainers, if they're working at Pure Gym or other big gyms, they're on minimum wage or less than minimum wage once they pay their rent and other stuff. So it's really important that to stay focused and to really achieve stuff, you've got to keep chipping away. So it's like as if you're Michelangelo and you got a bit of plaster and you want to make it into a beautiful statue of a woman. He started chipping away, slowly but surely. Weeks and weeks went by, months and months went by. Then all of a sudden he's got a beautiful figurine that is world famous. And this is the way you've got to look if you want to achieve any goal in your life. So as you see up there, I've got my Masters Level 5 with the Institute. That took 6 years. And everybody was saying to me, other trainers and stuff, what are you doing that for? What do you want to study with that guy for? It's 6 years commitment. It's going to cost you 33 grand. Because I see it as the pinnacle in the fitness industry, the top. And I just wanted to get to the top and have the best knowledge, the best information in my head, which I could charge for and help my clients with, if that makes sense. But it wasn't any easy road for me. I've been homeless, I've been jobless, I've been penniless in my bank account, and it's never ever been easy for me. But now, maturity, my 54-year-old, I look at it as in, if them tests wasn't there, I wouldn't have learned the life lessons that I needed to learn. Does that make sense? So, being on the door, working late nights, getting home in the morning, and then sleeping all day, and then getting up at night time is very bad for your health. And if I wouldn't have done the Czech studying and being a PT, I would never have understood that. Does that make sense? The same as when I was a pot wash boy for Ford's in Basildon, I would never have met the guy that knew Wag Bennett, and then I went and met Wag Bennett, and Wag Bennett said, "Oh, you've got a great physique, Scott, but if you want to go to the top, you've got to take drugs, you've got to do these things to get that gargantuan size, so you get, you know, notoriety like Dorian Yates and other famous bodybuilders." But I didn't want to go down that route because I knew how highly detrimental drugs were, because I took drugs when I was in my, I'd say 17 to 19. And then 19, I completely quit, went cold turkey, realised the friends that were supposed to be my friends wasn't my friends, and realised the health damage it had done to me by, I had the cravings constantly until I was in my late 30s, early 40s. So it's not till now that I don't crave it, I don't think about it. And I look at people and friends that have died of it. I've had 6 friends die of taking certain types of drugs, or they snorted coke in the toilet and had a heart attack and stuff like that, you know. So I soon realised that this is the most powerful part of you. And doing recreational drugs damages this part of you. And all of a sudden you lose your focus, you lose your dream, you lose what you really want to do. I can remember when I was smoking dope, I'd smoke dope nearly every weekend. I'd go and score my dope, but I would smoke it on my own. Because I'm an extrovert and introvert at the same time. I'm more introverted than extroverted. Does that make sense? I can stand up and do a big talk and be really extroverted, or be in a crowd of people and be extroverted. But really myself, I like to be introverted. I like to spend a lot of time on my own, studying, thinking, learning, and thinking how can I improve things for my clients as well as my self well-being, if that makes sense. So after setting little goals and achieving them goals, I knew I could achieve bigger goals. So the biggest goal for me was becoming a Master Pool Check Level 5, which is behind me, the certificate. That was really challenging. That was really hard. And what I've always said to myself, if this is the right path for me to go on, let it be easy for it to happen, but let me go through the challenges I need to go through in which to make it a success. So when I was a doorman, I got my nose broken, I got beat up a couple of times, and a couple of times I didn't get beat up. So, you know, that was a tough job. That was a job where I was always on the ball. And the one time when I let my guard down, walking somebody up a set of stairs, all of a sudden they turned around and punched me straight in the face. That broke my nose. And then all hell broke loose. But that was a great lesson to learn, of never letting your guard down. Does that make sense? Even now, when I go out and about, I'm still looking around, I'm still aware, because that's been programmed into me over a 16-year period. The same with a guy that's been in the military, they'll always be on their guard, because of, if they've been in a war situation, they can't switch off. The same as if I go into a nightclub, which I haven't, but if I was to go into a nightclub or bar, I'm not switched off. I can't do it. It's just, you're always in dormant mode. I'm sorry, but this is just how it is. You know what I mean? So really, never giving up. What I do is I got this little refill pad, and I write 5 goals every day. I visualize them goals 3 times a day. I say them goals like I've already achieved them, and then I just wait to see what happens. And I ask the universe, if this is the right goal for me, please let it become real. Does that make sense? So when I was doing the check studying, the money wasn't in the bank. It appeared. Clients gave me money, they cancelled, said to me to put it into the course, or I got a load of money off my dad, which I put into the course. So something was always appear. So I always use that now if something is right or wrong for me. If I go into a bar, say I go into Witherspoons, and I feel the energy is not right, I walk out. Because I know something's going to happen. And this is just an internal feeling that I get. Does that make sense? And I think that's why I did the shaman work and become a shaman, because my uncle that was in the army went to Ireland for 6 years. During the troubles of Ireland, he's now working with horses. And because he was a doorman like me as well, or I'm a doorman like him, he was a military fitness coach, I'm a PT. So we're so much like each other, it's unbelievable. But when he was in Ireland and come back, obviously he got PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder, and still suffers with it now at the age of 70. So he has a way of dealing with it. But for him to get all his land and his horses, and does horse and cart, like weddings and funerals and stuff, that just blew me away that we were so much alike. So it's really important that you write down your goals, you visualize your goals, and even if something happens, you still stay within that goal. Does that make sense? So you might go bankrupt, you might lose a load of clients, you might have to move home, you might split up with your wife or girlfriend or boyfriend. You know, all these things can happen in our lives, and it happens to all of us, but it's all about staying in that goal and staying in that dream until it becomes a reality. Does that make sense? So I wanted to write my own book. That took me 2 years, and with help from other people like Vidya McNeil. And if I wouldn't have had that help, it probably wouldn't have been published. And I had a ghostwriter help me as well. I don't know why I've got an itchy nose today. So it's really important that when you're setting up these goals, don't think of how it's going to happen. Just say it like it's happened already. And I guarantee you it will. You'll meet the right people. Because I can remember when I was in Essex and I didn't really know anybody really, because I'm an introvert, so I spend a lot of time on my own. And I said to a friend, so how'd you become a doorman then? He goes, well, now, before, you know, you was either well known for fighting or a well-known person that had a reputation in your area to get that to get the work on the door. Now, when I started, you had to get a license. So you had to do a training course, get the license, and then you become a doorman. So I done the training course, got my license, and what you learn on any course, you don't really learn anything. You do learn something, but you don't learn what you really need to know on any course. It's when you're actually in the trenches, on that door, saying to somebody, you can't come in, and they're going, I'm going to come back and shoot you, I'm going to stab you, or I'm going to fuck you up. Does that make sense? That's when you learn. So after that, I got that security license, and then I realised that you can go online, find certain jobs and stuff like that. And then I started working for a brilliant company that treated me really, really well. And then I left that company, then went and worked for another company. And I found that it was sort of like quite family orientated from a point of view. We're all putting our lives on the line on the night that they're working, and that one of us could be shot. I know a doorman that got shot in the groin. A really close friend of mine was stabbed 3 times. Another friend of mine ended up in a hospital, you know, just through protecting the venue. And for 15 quid an hour, it's not worth it. It really isn't. So I'd never go back to that, even though sometimes I think, oh, it'd be great to work at Bagley's again. Well, that's gone now, but it'd be great to work at the Ministry of Sound or something like that. But really, I don't think I'd be the same person. I'd probably go, yeah, go on, go in, go on. And if anybody had a go at me, oh, shut up, go on, go in. You know what I mean? Maybe not as headstrong as I used to be. Does that make sense? As I got older. So really important point that when you're having a down period and things are not going your way, this is the time to be even more focused. So I said to the universe when I was doing the Czech studying, because there was like loads of levels I had to do, and then get to go to do level 4 in California. If it's meant for me to do, make it happen. And it all happened. And this is what I use all the time now. And some goals can be harder to achieve than others. So when it's financial goals, I think that can be a little bit more difficult. But if it's like increasing your deadlift, that's quite easy. Or if it's you want to drop 10 pounds in body weight, that's quite easy if you know what you're doing. But when it comes to increasing your income, this can be a bit more difficult, especially if you're self-employed. But if you're self-employed and you're doing Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, YouTube, and you're doing all the social media, there's no reason why you shouldn't get leads or inquiries if you put in the right information out there. But if there's a credit crunch or there's a recession, it's always going to be a little bit harder. Does that make sense? Because it's affecting everybody's financial standing, so they're all being a bit more careful with their money, where they're going to spend it and who they're going to give it to, if that makes sense. So remember, if you want to become a PT, have a year's salary saved before you do it, because you're going to have them peaks and you're going to have them troughs, and you've got to make sure you can pay your rent and your mortgage. And make sure you write down 5 or 6 goals every day, visualize them, be in the moment that you've already achieved it, and I guarantee you, every time you will achieve it. It may take a bit of time. This is the universe just testing you, see how much you want it. But if you stick to it, you'll do it. So I hope you've enjoyed this video. Please subscribe to the YouTube channel. Please share the video if you can.